Hello and welcome. I'm Harriet Agbini. Tonight, Nigerian Army honors troops for their gallantry in the fight against terror in Yobe State. Governor Gaidam pledges continued support for the officers and men. As the world marks the Refugee Day, group campaigning for the rescue of the Chibok girls calls attention to the plight of internally displaced persons in Nigeria. Leadership tussle at National Productivity Center as two officials claim headship of federal agency. And at least 3 people injured as a man drives a car into a crowd gathered in Austria's second largest city of Graz. Business news tonight. Nigerian liquefied natural gas affirms a readiness to construct largest shipyard in Lagos.
And in sports news, Serbia wins first ever international title after a 2-1 triumph over Brazil in the final of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand.
We begin tonight in Yobe State, northeast Nigeria, where officers and men of the 27th Task Force Brigade of the Nigerian Army have been honored for their gallantry in the fight against Boko Haram insurgents. At a medal parade in Damaturu, the state capital, officers and men involved in Operation Zaman Lafia received medals for fighting the terrorists against all odds. Also at the event, the state governor, Ibrahim Gaidam, reiterated his administration's commitment to the welfare of officers.
The northeastern part of the country left almost desolate. In some areas, schools, markets, and whole communities sacked following Boko Haram attacks. At the moment, some of the sacked towns are gradually coming back to life as the Nigerian military hits hard at the sect, dismantling its operations and structure. The battle may not have been totally won, but the 27th Task Force Brigade of the Nigerian Army in Yobe State says it's time to honor the gallantry of its officers. And the state governor, Ibrahim Gaidam, says his administration will always be supportive of the troops.
The administration has maintained a proactive role from the beginning of the insurgency campaign to date. This policy posture is in consonance with our responsibility as a government to spare lives and property and ensure that law and order prevail in the state. In addition to providing logistic support, we have been according priority attention to the welfare of the officers and men who prosecute the insurgency campaign through prompt payment of some allowances, provision of drugs to the brigade clinic, payment of medical bills of those who sustain injuries, and assistance to the families of our heroes who lost their lives while combating insurgents in the state.
And here at this medal parade, officers and men involved in the Operation Zaman Lafia step out to receive their medals.
Purple Heart Medal is awarded to any member of the Nigerian Armed Forces who, while serving within the theater of operations, is wounded or killed in action. Specific examples of such services include any action against an enemy of Nigeria, any action with an opposing armed forces of a foreign country in which the Nigerian Armed Forces is engaged. The Purple Heart differs from all other medals in that an individual is not recommended for the award. Rather, a soldier or an officer is entitled to it upon meeting specific criteria.
Those who lost their lives are honored with the Nigerian Army Purple Heart Medal.
The presentation of medals to you today is an expression of our gratitude to you and an assurance that the sacrifice and service you render to your fatherland shall never be forgotten. I urge you to see today's event as a clarion call for you to render even greater service to the nation.
As the battle against terror continues, the Nigerian military says its men are poised to keep pushing until the Boko Haram sect is no more.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the World Refugees Day, the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group has urged the federal government to urgently address the plight of internally displaced persons in Nigeria. At their daily sit-out session in Abuja today, one of the leaders of the group, Mrs. Obi Ezekwesili, said the federal government has been slow in responding to the humanitarian crisis in the IDP camps.
These are members of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group in one of their regular sit-out sessions. However, they are here hosting some internally displaced persons.
We have a serious crisis on our hands.
The group is marking the World Refugees Day with these IDPs, and they are calling for more positive actions from the government.
Well, our movement is using this opportunity of the World Refugee and IDP Day to say to our government, there is need for urgency. We don't have any time to waste. These are human beings.
According to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, the crisis in the northeast has displaced over 1.4 million people, while 5.4 million people have been traumatized by the crisis. There are 27 IDP camps in the Federal Capital Territory, housing over 16,000 displaced persons.
Based on our work as advocates, we have other members of us that are in Lagos working along with other NGOs that have profiled in Lagos internally displaced persons from the northeast, which is 17,871 as at 3 days ago.
Liatu Ayuba is a widow. She lost her husband, a police officer, in an attack by the Boko Haram sect in 2009. In 2012, she arrived at Abuja after an attack on Goza, Borno State, in the company of her son, who was injured in the attack.
I left my house one midnight. We are 12 in number, jumping from one house to another, from one house to another, from one house to another, and I trek all the way from Goza to Limankara with leg in the night. That is the experience and I have. Some of my people were killed, and after we left, our places were burned. We came here still living in the mosque.
The Bring Back Our Girls group is alarmed at the humanitarian crisis in the northeast, and they hope that urgent steps are taken by the relevant authorities to ameliorate the situation.
An estimated 1.5 million Nigerians have been displaced from their homes following the insurgency in the northeast, and some have taken refuge in neighboring countries like Cameroon, Niger and Chad. As the world marks Refugee Day, the challenge of catering for IDPs is again highlighted. Olisai Luka Osemeka, National Coordinator, Social Network Welfare Initiative, joins me now from our Abuja studios to talk about this. A good evening to you.
Good evening.
Well, one of the leaders of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group says the federal government has been slow in responding to humanitarian crisis in the IDP camps. Tell us the challenges your organization has encountered in addressing the problem of IDPs.
I mean, I couldn't agree any better, because the truth is, governments have not woken up responsibility, there was the displaced person. If you look at what we have 37 IDP settlements in the FCT. There is no coordination at all because, like we've always said, I have consistently and always advocated that the coordination of the internally displaced persons humanitarian effort must be domiciled, with the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, as against what we have today with the National Emergency Management Agency. Yes, they have tried, but they have failed in coordinating every humanitarian effort so far. And as a result, all efforts by different NGOs, both local and international, comes to nothing. Today, there's no state within the Northeast, Northwest, and North Central that does not house IDPs. We're talking about 1.5 million IDPs in the Northeast, the 3 Northeast states alone. We have 47,276 in the North Central. We have about 200,000 outside who are refugees. Today, we don't even have accurate figures. These figures we are banditing about now are figures that came from the United Nations High Commission on Refugees. So for us, we believe that until the government agency that has the capacity, that is saddled with the capacity to handle issues of refugees, issues of internally displaced persons, begin to take charge of the issues of the IDPs, the humanitarian effort will be properly coordinated and we will see serious impact. Anything outside of that, we will continue to see the same thing because we continue to do the same thing over and over and over again.
So, Olisailoka, sorry to cut in here. How quickly should coordination begin, and from what arms? Organizations such as yourself are very concerned, yes, we know, but you need to work closely with the agencies responsible. How closely are organizations such as yourself working with the agencies?
That's what we are saying. There's no coordination. If there's no coordination, how will they work closely with you? So what you have is that my organization is doing our bit. We try as much as possible to sit with them and present the challenges we are seeing. To talk about, we have issues of malnutrition seriously in the camps. We have issues of some things that are looking like epidemics, but it hasn't gotten that bad. But if care is not taken immediately, we will have serious issues in our hands. The agency, NEMAT, as we speak today, they're not talking to anyone. So there's no coordination. They are just doing food relief. They bring food today, they cook food tomorrow, they bring relief to some camps, and the other camps don't have any. Those that are outside the camps don't get any. And mind you, we're talking 1.5 million in the camp. There are over 3 million IDPs living outside the camp.
Olisailoka, thank you so much for joining me on the news at 10 today and sharing your perspectives with us.
Thank you.
In part 2, after the break, traffic gridlock in Lagos as rain causes massive flooding of roads in the nation's commercial capital. That's in a moment. Please join us again.